For those of you who were waiting for this section, it's Love in Action. And joining us on the line from Alpha Ireland is Alan Morris. Alan, you're very welcome to be back with us this week.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. It's great to be back.
Now, we've had a great series so far, Alan. We've been looking at the Alpha Marriage course, and we've looked at building strong foundations, the art of communication, resolving conflict, the power of forgiveness, big one. We also looked at the impact of family, past and present. And the last time I spoke to you, we spoke on good sex, a very important part of marriage. And today, we're going to kind of sum it all up and talk about love in action, putting it into practice.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how I was watching a DVD there the other night, and they talked a lot about, love being, an actual action, a verb, a movement, and then the feelings come after it. And sometimes we just think it's a feeling thing, but it's love in action. It's a movement. It's a verb. So we must always think about that. What is love? Is it passive? No, it's not. It's something that it's an action. Something that and love is a choice as well, and sometimes we have to kind of push through that and love this person even though they sometimes make it difficult for us,
Yeah, I think that's very important to have said that at the very beginning, that it is an action, it is a doing, and it is a choice. I think we do forget that.
Yeah, we just think, as a mushy, feely, lovey kind of thing. But it's an action. How do we show our love? How do we do it? And what ways is there of expressing the love that we feel for this person? Is it words, loving words? Words of affirmation? Is it kind of confirming the person that they are loved? The words "I love you" are such a powerful thing, and yet some guys, particularly guys, are kind of saying, "Oh, that's a bit mushy and a bit things," but it does have an impact, a positive impact of affirming your love for the person you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and saying it, getting it out there, and saying it in words. We can kind of do lots of things, but to say the word simply "I love you" is just great, and we can't say it enough. But as long as it doesn't become kind of a joke, but becomes, I do love you, dear.
Yeah.
That's such an affirming thing to say.
And it's probably not just the I love you. It's, I know you mentioned loving words, is speaking kindly to one another, speaking in a loving way, in an affirming way.
That's right. We can actually, in the Bible it says in Proverbs 16:24, it says, pleasant words are a honeycomb sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. So we can say it in so many ways, our loving words. You're great, I believe in you, I think you're wonderful, the way you do that, the way, and your food, the way you cooked that meal was just beautiful, or just the way you, in that difficult situation where there was a bit of there, how you kind of helped through that, you were so insightful, all those things are kind of loving words, saying how great you are.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's even in the tone that we say things. And I know I had this issue with one of my children. It's not just, I know we're talking about marriages in particular, but it's not just in marriages. One of my children, I won't say which one, was very snappy and kind of grumpy in the way that they had answered. And I said, excuse me, but would you speak to one of your friends like that, in that really not nice manner? And they said no. And I said, well, you really shouldn't speak to me like that. I'm not happy. You wouldn't like if I spoke to you in that way. And, it is kind of in the manner that we say things as well, I think.
Contempt. Remember we talked about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse?
Yes.
Contempt, with that sneer and that tone and the little left side of your lip kind of lifting up, what we have to do is, the antidote is to build a culture of appreciation. What do you appreciate rather than contempt? Mm-hmm. So looking at that, because we can. And, it's amazing how some husbands and wives, when they're separated, kind of say, oh, he's just, kind of give out,
Yeah.
and, and kind of get into that attitude, in their own minds about the person. Mm-hmm. And it can be just a contempt we need to kind of try and remove, and just say, what do you appreciate?
Yeah.
about the person.
Okay, so what other expressions of love are there, Alan?
Thoughtful presence. Now, some people think this is just commercialism gone crazy, and maybe in the past, maybe commercialism was greed and all that sort of thing was there. But thoughtful presence is a powerful way of showing love in action. You know, giving a gift. Giving a gift, it can be something like, sometimes I give Diane a bag of sweets, a certain type of sweet, and it's gone from one to another. That's why I'm hesitating. It's gone from licorice to kind of gums, fruit gums, and so she loves when I just give her that, as I'm telling her that a little present, that I'm thinking of you and that I love you. And it can be something as simple as that, maybe a single flower from your garden, or it can be a big multi-billion-dollar premises if you want, or whatever. You know, I'm not saying don't limit it to either direction. It can be whatever thoughtful presence you think will really mean something to this person.
Well, you know, considering that we are kind of coming up to the Christmas period, I have to say something, Alan, and
okay.
I think it was certainly something that was reinforced by a friend of mine, that there are women out there who are very diligent. They're not materialistic, and you know they're very careful with their finances, and they run their home well. And sometimes their husbands get the impression that maybe presents are not high on their agenda, and generally they're not. You know, maybe your wife is not a materialistic person, just likes to, you know, be frugal and keep things managed well. But you know, when it comes to Christmas time or some time like that, most people I have found do like to have a little present under the tree. So don't forget.
Absolutely. But the real thing is to think about what the person really, really likes. So not just give them something that you thought very little about, right?
Yeah.
Think of something that actually, you know, maybe they might need or want, or something that's a little bit, you know, you've caught something of an essence of what the person's about.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was one thing on the marriage course they talked about, the wife got toothpaste, believe it or not, from her husband in her bag. And the toothpaste happened to be a special brand that was specially for the type of teeth she had. Now, the toothpaste worth nothing, but she saw that he thought a lot about it and actually looked at the brand that she kind of was looking for and went and found it and bought it, and obviously put a time and effort into it. It wasn't expensive, but he got her. And that was the real thing about that. He actually got her in that. And so try and think of what things get her, you know, that she will actually kind of, you know, like. I'm always reluctant to give money or gift vouchers because I think, well, you know, but, you know, sometimes that is the right thing. Maybe someone's saving up for a particular big item and the money is the best thing for it. So it's not ruled out totally. But I like to, one of my love languages is presence. See? I worked in the retail for a long time, and I think that's partially the reason why I went into retail was for that reason. And my wife, Diane, isn't into that. So when we got married first, I'll tell you this story. When we got married first, she used to always say, I don't need anything. I've got everything. I don't want anything. And she would always kind of blasé it. And it kind of annoyed me a bit. So how could I make her become aware that my love language was was presents? So off I went and I got her a present. And I put it in a black bag, black sack, and I gave it to her for her birthday. When she opened up this black sack, plastic bin liner, inside were mud flaps for the car.
Was that really her gift, Alan?
So it made her think about what it was all about. Now, to be honest with you, our anniversary is a few weeks later, and I brought her away for a weekend, and I bought her a nice handbag as part of that.
Okay.
But I was trying to make my point there, you know what I mean? And she recognized.
I think she must have gotten that point. Yeah.
She did a bit. So it's, you know, recognizing and understanding what the person likes. Like I've my stepmother, and she's an elderly lady, and she's always saying not to give her anything. But sometimes I get her a little inexpensive thing that really she just says, wow, we got a little photo album with all the kids' pictures in it. Wasn't that expensive. But boy, did she come back again and again to me saying, oh, that was a really lovely present.
Yeah.
You know? So think about that when it comes to presents. Think of something that will really get them, really kind of It might be a simple little thing. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing, but you've thought about it and you put a bit of effort into it. And also the other side of that, when someone does give you a present, think about it. Did this help? Have they kind of thought about this, and don't just shrug it off? Because that's maybe what Diane was doing with me. And she was shrugging off the things that I kind of put a bit of effort into. So the other side of it, look at this person. Maybe it's the toothpaste. Maybe they looked at the brand. Maybe they, whatever. And they put a thought into it and they gave it to me. So think about that.
Yeah.
Thoughtful presents. So what are you hoping to get for Christmas, Anna?
Oh, I really don't know, Alan, to be honest. But I am expecting something under the tree. I really am. And actually, I do have the very first Christmas present that my husband ever gave me. I still have it.
And it means a lot to you, does it?
It does. And it's certainly not something that I'd be willing to part with very quickly,
Well, there you go. So he got you in that, didn't he? He got you. So there you go. Yeah.
I think that was it. It was the first Christmas present. Now, I know you have some other expressions of love, and I know the last time we spoke, we talked about good sex, but physical affection is one of those expressions of love. Not just the sex, but physical affection.
Touch, in the Bible it talks a lot about Jesus. People touched him, and he touched other people. You know what I mean? And touch is such a powerful way of communicating that I love you. It doesn't have to always lead on to the sex end of things. It can be just like an arm around or a hug, those things that are just without any agenda in it. I just love you, and I'm just there, and I'm holding you. Wow, that's powerful in itself. Yeah. I don't want anything from you. I'm just giving you my heart in a hug. Wow, that's lovely. And sometimes, guys, when it comes to when it comes to sex, we look at the destination. Get there, you know what I mean? Girls, they like the journey. They sometimes like the earlier part in the day when you're just beside each other, maybe washing the dishes, maybe just helping clear away and things like that, leading on to the making love at the end. So, look at that. And if you're doing certain things, if you're always giving flowers because you're apologizing all the time, is that a good thing? Does it just mean that when you're giving the person flowers, what's he done now? So look at the... maybe give flowers in a positive way. Just simply, I don't want to, I'm not doing it for any other reason than I'm just saying, I love you. So, look at that in physical ways. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I have to say always touches my heart, and I know we see it a lot with younger couples who are just dating, but I love to see couples holding hands. If I'm shopping or whatever, and last week I actually saw quite an elderly couple coming towards me, and they were catching hands, they were holding hands coming along, and it was the sweetest thing. I thought it was lovely.
Well, one of the things that warms my heart is my dad remarried a lovely lady, and they got engaged, connected to something I was involved in. And after they got engaged, they actually walked out of the shop holding hands. This is now when they were in their mid-60s. And another person came into the shop, and they said, I just saw this elderly couple walking down there, and they were holding hands. They look so happy, isn't it? And that really warms your heart when you're seeing... My parents used to hold hands, when they were 30-something years married. And I hope I will too, hold Diane's hand in later life. And I do now, and I love holding her hands because, as I say, that's part of the touch that is very powerful. Yeah. And just, affirming her and supporting her by holding her hand is a lovely way of saying, I love you.
Yeah, it is. And I think you're certainly giving us a lot of things to think about, Anna, when we're talking about love in action. And I know you have another couple of expressions of love that you wanted to look at before we finished.
Quality time. Quality time. How do we get quality time? Sometimes people talk about just, quality time is kind of forced or whatever. We're going to have quality time, but we're not going to have much time. But I often say, how do you spell love? Just simply Time. Giving time to the ones you love. Giving time to the person that is one of your top couple of decisions in your life. Giving them time just to be there with them, to talk to them. And how do you draw each other out? And how do you listen to each other? And how do you talk about where you are and different things? Just time there together. We can give time to the TV, or give time to sport, or give time to our girlfriends, give time to other things. But where should we spend maybe more time? Together in talking to each other about real issues, and sometimes it's hard to talk about deep issues straight away, and sometimes you just have to simply just talk about normal stuff for a little while and then go into maybe deeper things and how you talk about that. Diane and myself got these love map cards, which is very interesting, from a place in the States, and they're called Love Map. And basically they're questions that you kind of ask each other. And like, what were you wearing the first time I saw you? And it's interesting asking these questions, where they go in these conversations. So, if you're stuck about how do I get deeper in my conversation with my wife, maybe write a few things, questions like that. Questions, and then starting those questions will evolve then into deeper things. And then you can kind of say, oh yeah, and there was that friend there, and I wonder how they are, and and also we have changed a lot. We are changing all the time. I am on my 17th wife, Diane, because we're changing. I have a picture of me when I got married, and people don't recognize me. I have changed both physically and emotionally and in maturity and things like that. And that's good. That's great. And so in that, we are changing all the time. So therefore, in those quality time, talk about how we're changed in those times and how we've grown in areas that have changed us and made us grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, when we ask those questions, it's not about maybe who remembers what, but it is about just getting to know each other, as you said, on a deeper level. I actually remember what my husband was wearing the first time I saw him. And I remember what I was wearing.
Yeah, go on.
But you know what, Alan? He would not. Was he? No, he was a biker at the time. He drove a bike, so he was wearing his biker gear. But he wouldn't remember at all what I was wearing. I know he wouldn't. He probably wouldn't even remember what colour my hair was.
You might be surprised.
Yeah, I might. Yeah, I must ask him actually. He's probably listening now and thinking, oh my goodness.
Quick, get those photographs out and I'll have a look through them.
But, it is, as you said, it does kind of bring back, I think it is kind of part of remembering why we fell in love, what attracted us, and those things are still in there and, of course, have developed and deepened over the years.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that it is continuing developing, that when it's important that it is developing, and growing together in that three-legged race that I've talked a lot about, in that we're going in sync with each other and growing together and changing and evolving, and work situations come along and they challenge us, and how we change and all that, and then maybe parents die and how we deal with that. That life journey is a long time together, and being with each other. I was really impacted by a friend whose brother died, and his wife and himself sat down really regularly and talked through where they were emotionally for a good period after that, and as they developed in the mourning process through that there. And that's lovely seeing that going through. So I'm challenged by that. But also we have kind actions. Yeah. Our life is routine, and sometimes the mundane and the boring, and we get into this whole kind of same old drudge.
Yeah.
How do we sometimes change that? How do we kind of keep that spark of spontaneity? Putting candles over the bedroom, or putting, saying, I'm going to take you away for a surprise weekend and book it, and take each other off for a weekend somewhere, doing things that are spontaneous to keep that spark alive, to keep that thing. Because a lot of life is routine. A lot of life sometimes is like that 36 reel film, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of normal pictures in it. But in those normal pictures, there's some really good ones in there, you know what I mean? And trying to, pick those out and, create them, if you like, Yeah. So you have to work at that.
Yeah, as you said at the very beginning, Alan, love is an action, and it is choice. So it is kind of encompassing everything that you said. This is what love and action is all about.
Yeah. Remember, words, time, action, touch. Mm-hmm. Presence, those are kind of things. And I can give you a reading from each of them. Words in John 15:9, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. So that's words. Mm-hmm. Time, come with me by yourself to a quiet place. So that's kind of time. That's in Mark 6:31. Actions, he poured some water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet. So that was actions for Jesus there in John 13:5. Touch, Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. Luke 5:13. Presence. Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. And that was present there of the bread. John 6:11. So like, look at all those different areas of learning to love someone and showing that love. And, it is such a great thing. And clearing the drains as well. And don't be pushing down issues. Remember, I've talked about conflict is an opportunity of growth.
Yeah.
Remember that when you're going into this Barney, when you're having this fight, what is it? What is my reaction? Do I stonewall? Do I just shut down? Or can I say, what am I trying? What's this about? What's really this about? And saying, I want to grow in this. I want to kind of try and change the way I'm thinking about it and try and actually see, maybe I'm doing something. Take ownership of what I'm doing in this and saying, I'm sorry. The words, please forgive me. And the other person saying, I forgive you, really clears those drains that have been building up maybe. And if something keeps coming back up again and again, it's obviously alive down there in our past. And really, we have to look at what is that. Look to your past sometimes if something keeps coming back up and I haven't dealt with that maybe. I need to deal with that. I need to look at that and see what the hurts are there that are going on that keep coming back into my life.
Well, I think it's been a fantastic end to this marriage series, and I know we're going to continue on with more series with you, Alan, but I think this has been a fantastic end to this Alpha Marriage series, today's topic, Love in Action. Now, if people do want more information about Alpha Ireland, or indeed the Alpha Marriage course, how can they do that?
Okay, first of all, what we've done over these 7 weeks isn't the actual marriage course in the strictest sense, because there's a lot of things that you have to do with each other, and there's questions you have to answer and things like that. But it is a great tool. It is a great tool for actually strengthening your marriage. So invest in it. Invest in actually time in your marriage. The reason why I do the marriage course is I had a holy discontent. I'm reading a book called The Holy Discontent, and I saw marriages break up. And and why? Because they had a great relationship at the start. What led to all this going on? So I had a holy discontent to help build stronger marriages. And if you have that holy discontent to help build stronger marriages in Ireland, go on the website, alphaireland.ie, get the video, the DVD and the books, and do it yourself in your own home with another friend, and then lead on to doing it in your church, in your community, in your school, in wherever you think there is a need to build stronger marriages in Ireland. Nikki and Cilla Lee, by the way, live part-time down in Cork, just so you know, and they met and fell in love in Cork. And they are the people that facilitate the actual DVD. So the tool is there for you. You don't need to be an expert. It's there for you to do. All you do is facilitate it. So go to alphaireland.ie, and maybe this will help to build stronger marriages in Ireland in this time when we do need to look at that.
Yeah, and I know, Alan, if there is somebody listening who wants to maybe get connected up with somebody who is facilitating a marriage course, they can get in contact with you, and you might be able to link them up that way.
Absolutely. Go on the Alpha Ireland, alphacourse.ie, alphacourse.ie, and Alpha Ireland is the Facebook site as well, but alphacourse.ie, and we'll give them the details of what's going on around the country. Okay.
Well, I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed taking a brief look. As you said, it is just a small look at the whole Alpha Marriage course. We've just done some of the items. As you said, there's a lot more. There's a lot of doing involved, and I have to say,
you even have a bit of homework as well in it to do. And the homework is never corrected, but you go home and you talk about it together, and that's really what it's about. And you discuss it, and it helps you. It helps you.
Well, we look forward to having you back on the show with us next Friday with a new topic that we're going to be starting. But again, Alan, just in finishing up some of the details of the website and the Facebook.
alphacourse.ie, www.alphacourse.ie, to actually go and get the material to do the marriage course, the Marriage Alpha course. Or if you're interested, we're going to go and do the parenting course, and there's the parenting course as well in alphacourse.ie. So have a look at those as well.
And we are going to be starting the parenting course here on The Level with Alan. So we're looking forward to that, Alan. I have to say, I think I'm going to be challenged.
Well, one of the famous parenting psychiatrists said, I had 3 theories and no children. Then I had 3 children and no theories.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like me. Alan, thank you so much for being with us this week. And we look forward to chatting again very shortly here on The Level.
Pleasure, Anna.
Thanks,
God bless you.
Alan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Alan Morris from Alpha Ireland, and bring us kind of in a roundup to our Little Marriage series that we've covered over the last number of weeks. Today's Love in Action, I have to say, I found it fantastic. But we will, as Alan said, we're going to be starting a new course on parenting. We're going to be taking a look at the Alpha parenting course next week